Swimmers, we are live. I'm Coleman Hodges with SwimSwam editor-in-chief Braden Keith. We are breaking down this 200 fly snafu from Heat 4 of the 2025 Men's NCAA Championships. It is the last day of prelims this morning on this Saturday. It was the last event of prelims in the men's 200 fly. And basically what happened is in Heat 4, which had two Cal Bear swimmers in it, among others, the starter said, take your mark, and then immediately fumbled the buttons. And so essentially what happened was that take your mark, beep. Braden, Braden, you were there. Can you give us a little more detail on what happened and the implications of this?
Yeah, it wasn't clear immediately, but our photographer, Jack Spitzer, who's on deck, figured out that essentially the starter didn't pause between take your mark and hitting the button. And then lane 7 never reacted and left the block 2 body lengths late. The appropriate response in that scenario by the official is to recall. Unfortunately, we no longer use recall ropes. So Tomer Frankel of Indiana swam 75 yards before anybody was able to stop him, which in and of itself seems like a problem, that whether you got stopped after 25 or 75 is dependent on whether the turn official in your lane was able to bend down far enough to grab you at the wall. So hopefully there's a better solution for that coming in the future. Hacken Naughton from Arizona was the guy who didn't leave the blocks. He wound up dropping a couple tenths in the reswim, which came about 30 minutes after, and he qualified 10th. Tomer Frankel from Indiana, who was the guy who swam the furthest before being stopped, added time and didn't make the points. So read into that what you will. This starter is obviously a highly qualified starter, or they wouldn't be at a meet of this level. It's going to happen, right? Every starter is going to do this at some point in their career of 20,000 starts. So they corrected it the best they could, and all we're left with is what would have happened. I think this is a part of elite sports, is being able to overcome these sort of things, respond to it. Swimming, we're so used to a controlled environment, but sometimes things happen that are outside of your control, and it's a championship meet. At a championship meet, you've got to be ready to respond to whatever happens. And so that's what we saw. Some guys did, other guys maybe didn't. I think from a team perspective, besides what happened with Indiana, Cal had their 2 guys in this. Their 2 potential qualifiers, Dari Rose and Frank Applebaum, who's a D3 transfer. So that's a fun story for some folks. Dari did what he needed to do, got into the A final, so no harm, no foul there. Frank got into the B final, added a couple tenths. We could make an argument how much would he would have needed to go 7 tenths faster to make the A final, and I'm not sure you could blame that and feel good about that on the reswim, because he was stopped pretty quick. So I think all in all it came out relatively fair. I think it came out as good as it could, but it was certainly some excitement and some confusion in this morning. As everybody, the Arizona State parents are sitting in front of us up here in Media Row, and they were turning around asking us what happened. We didn't know what happened. It wasn't clear from the stream. Luckily, Jack Spitzer was able to talk to some coaches on deck and figure out exactly what went down. But
yeah, and we've already seen a couple swim offs at this competition, which isn't unusual. But we've seen technical malfunctions in the past. There was a couple of years ago when there was the really weird start on the men's 50 free final. I guess it was just they held them for a really long time.
Yeah, the Daniel Carr 100 back reswim for Cal.
Yeah, where the block wasn't properly installed.
The wedge wasn't set right.
Yeah,
he slipped on the start. Yeah,
so,
yeah. There's been a lot of technical issues here this week, and Federal Way recently got some redos, but there was an issue with the diving board that delayed the 3-meter prelims yesterday. There's been some issues with the touchpad. So from a technical perspective, there have been some challenges this week in Federal Way that hopefully somebody is looking at and working on long-term solutions for.
Yeah, I don't, in terms of the team, going back to the team race, even if the California swimmer Frank Applebaum would have made the A final, I'm not sure that Cal did quite enough to contend with, to give Texas a real run tonight in the team race. But it should be an exciting finals regardless. I mean, there's a reason they swim the meet, so you're always looking for.
And Texas is banking on a lot of things in the 1650 free, and we haven't seen those guys yet. So, Texas has swum well so far, but it wouldn't be the first time where guys swam well in the 500 and not the 1650. We've seen that at a lot of NCAA championships in the past. So that's probably Cal's window of hope right now. Ann sent me some math. It looks like it's going to be, it looks like Texas is going to have to finish the 400 free relay legally, which gives Cal a chance. That if Cal can find a way to chip away 20 points in the mile and another 10 points throughout the finals, like it's there. I think the points are there. It's definitely Texas's meet to lose, so we don't want to oversell or undersell that. Texas is in control, and I think we'll probably know after the mile whether it's a meet or not. But the opportunities exist. So Cal's divers do their best on platform. That is their best diving event, so that's worth acknowledging too. Diving should be a wash for Cal in Texas.
Okay. Well, we will see tonight. Tune in for the last night of the men's NCAA championship finals. And thanks for tuning in here.